You're sitting on your front porch after a truly brutal double shift, and your neighbor is screaming at you from across the street over a property line dispute. He is throwing insults, making threats, and acting completely unhinged. Your hands are shaking, your chest is tight, and you feel completely drained. You pull out your phone, search for whether you can sue somebody for emotional distress, and you land on millions of results promising you can win millions of dollars just because somebody made you feel terrible. Tonight we're tearing down the biggest myth in the everyday legal world. The myth is that being a jerk, causing a scene, or ruining your day is an automatic payday in court. We're going to unpack what emotional distress actually means in the legal system, why judges rarely reward hurt feelings on their own, and exactly how the courts measure something you can't see on an X-ray. The myth usually starts with a dramatic story. Somebody cuts you off in traffic, nearly runs you off the road, and flips you off as they speed away. You're shaken, furious, and your anxiety is completely shot for the rest of the week. A buddy tells you that you've a slam-dunk lawsuit for emotional distress because the other driver was a maniac. The reality of the justice system is a lot more complicated than that. You generally can't sue somebody successfully just because they acted like a terrible person. The courts handle physical injuries and financial losses all day long. You get hit, your car gets damaged, and the insurance pays for the hospital bill and the repairs. The law handles things you can touch, measure, and put a price tag on. Emotional distress is an invisible injury, which makes it incredibly difficult to prove, and the system naturally treats it with a heavy dose of skepticism. The courts worry about people faking it, so they demand a mountain of actual proof before they open their wallets. When we talk about suing for mental pain, we're usually dealing with something the law calls mental anguish. Mental anguish is a legal term that means a significant emotional response to a terrible event, like intense grief, severe terror, or deep humiliation. Feeling slightly annoyed or generally stressed doesn't even come close to counting. The law usually demands that the mental anguish be serious enough to disrupt your daily life. You generally need to show that the event gave you actual psychological or physical symptoms. Maybe you can't sleep, you suffer panic attacks, or your hand shakes so badly you can't do your job anymore. But even if you've all those severe symptoms, that's only step one of the puzzle. You still need to connect your intense emotional pain directly to a specific, legally recognized bad action. There are two main categories of mental anguish you can pursue in the legal system. The first one is called negligent infliction of emotional distress. Negligence is a legal term that means somebody failed to act with reasonable care and their carelessness hurt somebody else. In these situations, the person who caused your pain didn't mean to do it. They just screwed up, but they screwed up so badly that it mentally scarred you. Think about a scenario where a heavy piece of machinery falls off a construction site fence, crashes through your windshield while you're driving, and you barely escape with your life. The crew didn't mean to terrorize you, but they were incredibly careless. The anxiety and nightmares you suffer afterward could potentially qualify for negligent infliction of emotional distress. You're claiming their carelessness caused you intense psychological trauma. But for negligent mental anguish to hold up in court, you usually have to clear a massive hurdle known as the impact rule. The impact rule is a standard many states use which says you can only recover money for emotional distress if you also suffered an actual physical impact or physical injury during the event. So if a truck runs a red light and T-bones your car, and you walk away with a broken arm and terrible post-traumatic stress from the crash, the mental anguish is attached right to your broken arm. You've the physical trauma to anchor the emotional trauma. Some states have relaxed this rule slightly to allow claims if you were in the immediate zone of danger and feared for your life, but the rules are incredibly strict. They demand that your fear was reasonable, the danger was immediate, and your psychological reaction was severe. Invasion of privacy happens when somebody intrudes into your private life in a way that would be highly offensive to a reasonable person. If an ex-partner shares private photos of you online without your permission, the mental anguish you suffer is going to be a central part of your case. The law recognizes that having your privacy brutally violated causes immense psychological trauma, and a jury is often very willing to award financial compensation for that specific pain. But again, the proof is entirely necessary. You have to show the judge exactly how the violation impacted your daily life, your ability to work, and your mental stability through concrete evidence. You might be wondering why the law makes it so incredibly hard to get paid for mental suffering. The legal system recognizes that emotional pain is incredibly real and can completely destroy a person's life. But the system also requires objective, measurable standards to function properly. A judge can't simply look at you and know how much pain you're truly in. They rely on evidence like therapist visits, medical diagnoses, lost wages from missed work, and witness testimony from friends and family who saw your personality completely change. The higher the standard, the more legitimate the claims that actually make it through the system become. If you want to pursue one of these cases, you have to treat your mental health just like a physical injury. You document it, you seek professional help for it, and you keep incredibly detailed records of how it impacts your everyday life. So if you're dealing with a situation right now where somebody has caused you severe emotional trauma, you need to understand the actual mechanics of building a case. You start by realizing that your anger alone won't win a lawsuit. You need to identify the exact legal wrongful act. Was it negligence that put you in physical danger? Was it outrageous conduct meant to terrorize you? Was it a defamation case that ruined your career? Once you identify the specific wrongful act, you need to look at your proof. Do you have medical bills from a therapist? Do you have prescriptions for anxiety medication? Do you have witnesses who can testify about how your life completely fell apart after the event happened? You need to gather every single piece of paper that connects the terrible event to your current mental state. The stronger your paper trail, the better your chances of a lawyer actually taking your case and fighting for you. This brings us to the point where you absolutely need to talk to a professional. If you truly believe you've suffered severe emotional distress due to somebody else's intentional cruelty or extreme negligence, you need to consult an attorney in your specific state. Mental anguish claims aren't easy, beginner-friendly lawsuits you can just figure out on a Tuesday night with a quick internet search. They require complex legal arguments, a deep understanding of your specific state laws, and the ability to navigate a legal system that's naturally skeptical of invisible injuries. A local attorney can look at the exact facts of your situation, tell you if your state follows the impact rule, and let you know if your case actually meets the incredibly high standard of outrageous conduct. They can tell you exactly what your jurisdiction requires to turn your real, live pain into a viable court case. Remember that the justice system is designed to make you whole again, not to punish people simply for having bad manners. Emotional distress is a valid legal claim, but it's a heavy lift. It requires proof, medical documentation, and behavior that goes far beyond everyday rudeness. The myth is that any hurt feeling is a lottery ticket. The reality is that true emotional distress cases are complex battles fought with medical records and strict legal standards. If somebody has genuinely broken your mind through extreme cruelty or terrifying negligence, the law does have a pathway to help you, but you've to be willing to step into that courtroom with undeniable proof of your pain. Have you ever had a situation where somebody did something so outrageous it completely disrupted your ability to live your normal life, and you wondered if it crossed the line into something you could actually take to court? Tell me your story in the comments below. If this breakdown helped you separate the empty legal threats from actual courtroom reality, share the video with a friend who might need to know the real score. Make sure you subscribe to Scribble Law so you always know the actual rules of the game before a toxic situation tries to completely overwhelm your life.